Something terrible came with the rain. It was supposed to be an ordinary day. One moment I was getting ready for my shift at work, and then the next thing I know, I got a text from an emergency alert. The text read, "Emergency. Heavy rains with possible floods imminent. Do not leave your home under any circumstances. Effective immediately. Lock your doors and cover your windows. Avoid making loud noises or using devices that emit light. If your household members have been outside in the rain, do not let them inside. Await further notice from the authorities." This was weird, to say the least. First off, the weather outside was fine. I was outside just prior to receiving the text, and not a single cloud was in the sky. And then the instructions themselves, they didn't make any sense. Don't let your family members inside if they've been out in the rain? Before I could process that thought properly, I heard drumming of the rain on the roof of my home. I glanced out of my window and realized that the previously sunny weather had now turned into a sudden downpour. The drumming I had heard on the roof became louder by the second, until it was the only sound permeating the house. Despite my skepticism at the instructions of the message, I decided to abide by the rules and pull the blinds over my windows, as well as locking my doors. I returned to my living room in order to send my boss a text that I won't be coming to work, but upon my attempt, I realized the message could not be sent. Not only were the services off, but there was no internet either, so I couldn't check what was going on the news. I wanted to turn on the TV, but I remembered what the message said about light-emitting devices, so I did the only thing an internet-deprived person could do at that moment. I took a nap. The rain was loud, but the drumming of it put me to sleep more easily. I woke up sometime later, confused and groggy. The battering of the rain hadn't let up. If anything, it was only more violent now. I glanced at my phone and realized it was 5 p.m. Still no service or internet. I got up and went to the kitchen to grab some water, still half asleep. I poured water into a glass and brought it to my mouth. However, something stopped me before I could take a sip. In addition to the heavy rain outside, I heard a distinctive sound of footsteps splashing in my backyard. It was brief and sounded like someone just ran from one end to another, but it was definitely there. I scanned my backyard through my back door, but it was empty. I was sure I heard footsteps, so I decided to open the door and peek outside. As soon as I did so, the already loud thundering of the rain became even louder, almost sounding like a waterfall was next to me. I stepped forward to the edge of the grass and right away saw fresh footprints across the lawn. They started from one end of the fence and ended all the way across the lawn on the other side. It was as if someone had jumped over the fence, ran across my backyard, and jumped again into my neighbor's yard. "Hello?" I foolishly called out, looking at my neighbor's fence. No response back. Of course it did. Maybe it was the neighbor's kid who got caught in the rain and decided to hurry back home. I turned around and went back inside, closing the door behind me and somewhat muffling the noise of the rain. I drank the unfinished glass of water and returned to my living room. Just as I was about to sit down, I heard another noise. A group of voices coming from the street. I could barely make them out due to the battering of the rain, but they spoke loudly to each other, so I could just barely hear them. I peeked outside my window and saw a group of armed soldiers standing in the middle of the street, in front of my house. They were talking amongst each other, and from their body language and hand gestures, it was apparent they weren't chatting about everyday mundane activities. I wanted to know what was going on, so, against my better judgment, I opened my front door and stepped onto the porch. Report back after a full sweep. I came outside just in time to catch one of the soldiers shouting. As soon as they noticed me, they pointed their guns at me in unison. "Whoa, don't shoot!" I raised my hands instinctively. "I just wanted to know what's going on." "Sir, you need to go back inside right now," the soldier at the front, who was shouting orders earlier, said. And then something happened that I cannot comprehend to this day. As the soldiers stood there pointing their guns at me, something flew through the street at an impossible speed and grabbed one of the soldiers at the back, taking him along with it and disappearing out of sight. It all happened in a split second, and all that remained of the soldier was his gun that fell to the ground with a muffled clatter. I felt my hands and jaw slowly drop and eyes widen, as a soldier who was at the front continued barking orders at me. The others seemed oblivious to their squad member's disappearance, until one of them glanced to the side and saw the gun on the ground. "Hey, Lieutenant, where's Ramirez?" he asked. The whole group turned towards the gun on the ground and started looking around for the soldier and shouting his name. I wanted to tell them what I saw, but I wasn't even sure of what happened myself. One of the soldiers pointed down the street at something I couldn't see from the porch, and when their whole squad looked in that direction, their look of confusion turned into one of palpable fear. They pointed their guns at whatever was there, and just as I was about to strain my neck to look at what they were so worried about, I was ordered by the lieutenant once more to get inside, this time a lot more violently. I would have ignored the order itself, but the demonic, high-pitched scream that suddenly came from down the street is what caused me to run back inside, lock my door, and prop it with my back, while my heart pounded like crazy. Even though I had no idea what the fuck was going on. Gunshots were mixed in the air along with the animalistic screeches that now sounded like they were right in my ear. A moment later, both the screaming and the gunshots ceased, and the only thing that remained was the drumming of the rain. My heart was pounding fast, and my thoughts racing a million miles per hour. What the hell just happened? Before I could process that thought entirely, there was a knock on my door. "Sir, you can open the door. It's safe now." It was a lieutenant. Safe from what? I thought to myself. I stood up and stared at the door, holding my breath. "Sir, open the door," the soldier said again. Something didn't seem right in the way he said it, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. "Sir, if you don't open the door, I will be forced to break in," the lieutenant repeated. There was no intonation in his sentence. It was as if he just read it off a line on a paper. "Sir, if you don't open the door, I will be forced to break in." His sentence cut off with the sound of a gunfire echoing somewhere in the distance. There was a sound of violent splashing footsteps moving away from my door, which I assumed came from the lieutenant. I glanced through the people, and sure enough, he was gone, but the sight in front of me is what made my heart drop to the pit of my stomach. Strewn about the street in front of my house were the mangled and mutilated dead bodies of the soldiers I had just seen, their blood washed away by the pouring rain. I counted the bodies, and my suspicions were correct. The entire group had perished. This is Kinetic Symphony. If you've enjoyed this narrated story, please subscribe and like the video to help me grow. Thank you.